Welcome to another episode of In the Know, everything you need to know to keep your fleet moving. This episode covers the all-important vehicle maintenance basic, one of 7 behavior analysis and safety improvement categories under the SMS system. In our last episode, we cover the broader framework of compliance, with this video being focused on one key component relating to the inspection, maintenance, and safe operation of vehicles and equipment. This series is brought to you by WhipAround, the easiest way to manage your fleet inspections, DVIRs, and maintenance compliance with simple software to keep you in the know about the important information you need to reduce costs and improve the safety, compliance, and performance of your assets. Visit whiparound.com to learn more. In our last episode, we covered the broader framework of compliance, with this video being focused on one key component relating to the inspection, maintenance, and safe operation of vehicles and equipment. The part of the legislation that cover most of this are CFR 49, Parts 392, 393, and 396. The Safety Measurement System, or SMS system, covers 7 main categories for carriers to focus on to ensure they operate a safe and compliant fleet, covering both vehicles and drivers. Each of these basic categories has a different weighting when it comes to the severity of violations within it, and the threshold at which the federal agencies will seek an intervention, likely an audit, which is not where you want to be as a fleet manager or a business owner. The Vehicle Maintenance Basic is a critical element of safety and compliance for carriers. For this reason, it carries a big weighting when enforcement agencies are evaluating a carrier's performance. The sections of legislation that cover most of this are CFR 49, Parts 392, 393, and 396. Vehicle maintenance violations result in a far higher percentage of out-of-service violations than comparable categories, as even minor infractions recorded against a vehicle can be seen as high risk when it comes to that vehicle sharing the road or carrying cargo. Vehicle maintenance is not totally about catching anything that might be wrong with the vehicle before it heads out for the day. It also requires the carrier to ensure that a proper maintenance program is set up for that vehicle and that it has a plan to regularly inspect and maintain it, and that the records of this work be stored. But more on that in a bit. Would you believe it that the most common items that vehicles are written up for are some of the most simple? With lights and turn signals appearing every year on this list, other items like brakes, leaks, and even the presence of a fire extinguisher can very quickly start adding to your SMS score and putting you in hot water with the officer. While a lot can happen to a vehicle when it's on the road, we know that most of these things can be prevented through a thorough inspection or a DVIR process every day. Given over 20% of these lead to the vehicle being ordered off the road, that's a lot of incentive to try and catch these things before the enforcement agent does. We have narrowed down the key criteria for the Vehicle Maintenance Basic into 4 main pillars to focus on to give you the best shot at staying compliant. Number 1, cargo securement, which some people forget has a real role to play in this basic category. 2, proactive maintenance. 3, reactive maintenance. And 4, record keeping. After all, you have to prove it when the feds come knocking for an audit. Let's dig a little deeper into each of these. Cargo securement emphasizes the importance of ensuring your load is well balanced and secure before and during your trip. This means during your pre-trip inspection process, this needs to be included. And then during the journey you are on at certain intervals, you need to recheck the load is centered, stable, and secure. Any equipment used to ensure this is the case also needs to be in good working order, like tie-downs, hooks, latches, curtains, and tarps. The Vehicle Maintenance Basic actually used to be called Cargo Securement, or something to that effect, before the SMS system came about. A driver must inspect the cargo securement at least these intervals. Before departure, within the first 50 miles, so after some movement on the road, at each change of duty status or every 3 hours, whichever happens first, at least every 150 miles. Keeping a record of this will help keep you on the good side of any questions from an inspector as well. Proactive maintenance is at the heart of the success of any fleet operation. The costs of proactive repairs are usually far less than unexpected repairs, especially if you're including the costs of things like lost productivity, towing, expedited parts, and many other variables. But there is also a legal requirement to plan and execute on this, with regulations under Part 393 of the Transport Codes stating that you must be able to document the intention to maintain a vehicle at regular intervals. This is usually recommended by the OEM or supplier of other parts like tires or engine parts. You must also have any repairs completed and keep a record of all the work done on that vehicle so that you can clearly demonstrate a good maintenance history if required. We find this also really helps resale value when you can provide a concise outline of the service history of an asset, not just a stack of old receipts and work orders in the glove box. Part 396.17 also requires you to have a periodic or annual inspection done on the vehicle, and the record of that must be available on request also. Planning this out and getting reminders when things are due will save you a lot of hassle and stress, not to mention keep your vehicles safe. Reactive maintenance should be the catch-all. For most carriers operating vehicles over 10,000 pounds in interstate commerce, this is your DVIR process. But even if you aren't required to do DVIRs, a daily pre- or post-trip should be at the heart of your maintenance program. This will catch any damage or issues that happens between your scheduled maintenance and is the perfect chance to check tires, tie-downs, lights, brakes, and all of your documents for the vehicle should you get stopped. There are some items that are required to be on a DVIR, but most carriers will customize this in some way to catch more information at this important inspection each day and ensure their vehicles are on the road in the best possible state for their drivers, their cargo, and their customers. The length of an inspection differs depending on who you talk to, with many people suggesting that around 10 to 15 minutes should cover most aspects required. If any issues are found to be defective during this inspection, the driver must submit a signed DVIR to the carrier. The vehicle should be placed out of service by the carrier until those repairs are corrected by a mechanic or agent of the carrier and signed off by that mechanic. The repairs then need to be cited and signed off again by the next driver. These three signatures are an important part of the DVIR compliance that many carriers forget or many digital solutions don't adhere to, such as many and most ELD providers. A DVIR must also be completed should a defect be identified at a roadside inspection, something that again is often missed by the carrier, but it's a magnet for audits. Importantly, what's the point of doing all of this great safety work if you can't prove it when you are called up for an audit? Well, yes, you'll have safer vehicles and drivers on the roads, less unplanned maintenance and downtime, and generally be more profitable, but you get the point. Record keeping is a core aspect to compliance, and there are specific requirements for different reports and documents you need to be aware of. Annual inspections must be kept for 14 months. DVIRs must be kept for 90 days. This covers any vehicle under the carrier's control for 30 days or more, even if rented. DVIRs, which are the driver vehicle examination report written up by an inspector, must be kept for a year. Then the maintenance records also require some fairly lengthy retention periods. The regulations also require that records of all inspections, maintenance, lubrication, repairs, and upcoming maintenance be kept for 1 year while the unit is in service, and for 6 months after the unit leaves service. These records must be available, usually at a 2 days' notice, and also may be kept electronically, which makes sense given the amount of filing space you'd need to have if all of this was done on paper. Thank you for listening to another episode of In the Know. We hope this was clear and helpful. If you manage a fleet of vehicles and assets and know there must be a better way to manage maintenance and compliance than paper forms and whiteboards, then get over to whiparound.com to try it out. From DVIR, maintenance scheduling, and damage reporting, Whiparound is customizable to any asset process or need you have. Built on compliance with drivers, fleet managers, and mechanics in mind. Visit whiparound.com today. And before you go, please let us know what else you would like to see or hear from us in this series in the comments below.